There was once a man who gathered crowds wherever he went, who dared to speak in defiance of the powers of his age. He did not beg people to feel, he urged them to think. He did not demand conformity, he challenged dogma, he was mocked, hated and despised by those who held the reins of cultural power. Yet people still flocked to him because he lit a spark that no one else would dare strike. And when his end came, it was celebrated by his enemies, cheered on as though his death were a victory. You may think I'm talking about a man from 2,000 years ago, but I'm really not. And before we go any further, let's be clear about where I'm coming from. I'm a man, stoic by default, hardened by life's punches. I'm British, so enduring being beaten down from all sides has left me naturally apathetic. And unlike today's culture, where everyone seems to have a mental illness, mine was recognized and I was sectioned in the 80s and 90s, before it was cool, after years of psychiatrists insisting there was nothing wrong with me. That left me bitter, with little to no real empathy for nonsense or self-indulgent whining, which is why the actions of certain people following this tragic event strike me as not just wrong, but repugnant. Welcome to the Snake Pit, where we're full of bile and venom. I'm your host, Snake Daemon, and today I'm taking a brief detour. I'm looking at the loss of a man whose life was tragically taken from us in the most unforgivable way. And today, I want to talk about how this makes me feel. A man stood up in a time where conformity was the law of the land, not enforced by armies or emperors, but by universities, media machines, and mobs baying for cancellation. He built a following not because he pandered to emotion, but because he dared to appeal to logic. In an age where feelings have replaced reason, he asked people to question the so-called authorities of their age, to think for themselves rather than swallow the propaganda poured down their throats. And for that crime he was hated. For that defiance he was smeared. And when death came for him, his enemies didn't mourn, they danced. They reveled in the silencing of a man who had the courage to speak. This isn't just about one man, this is about what he represented. He was proof that the empire of ideology could be challenged, proof that even in a culture dominated by outrage and enforced narratives, someone could rise up and gather followers simply by daring to question. His life was a reminder that truth still has weight in a world addicted to lies, and that terrified those who claim control. Because here's the ugly truth. They didn't just celebrate a man's death, they celebrated the quieting of a voice that pierced through their echo chamber, and that should make every single one of us shudder. Rome, 2,000 years ago, was feared because of its soldiers, its crosses, and its law. Today, the modern Rome is feared because of its censorship, its media mobs, and its smug delight in silencing dissenters. They didn't crucify him on a hill, but they crucified his reputation, mocked his name, and then cheered when fate finally claimed him. The parallels are undeniable, and yet just as Rome couldn't stamp out the fire started in Judea, today's empire of ideological conformity will not stamp out what he sparked. This was a tragic action, but it revealed something important. Those in power are terrified. They are terrified because they started to listen. For all their bluster, all their posturing, all their smug dismissal, the ruling orthodoxy heard him. And more importantly, they feared what others heard through him. And fear is what drove them to mock, to smear, and to celebrate. A terrified group silences what it cannot answer. That is the true legacy of his death. Proof that words still matter, that defiance still matters, and that those who pretend to be strong are, in truth, afraid. Fear celebrates death, but courage echoes forever. And if anyone's out there still thinking for themselves, remember this. The terrified empire of conformity hates you, but it cannot stop the spark. Thanks for dropping by the Snake Pit, where we thrive on untapped potential and lost opportunities. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell, like the video, and leave your opinions in the comments, where naturally I won't read them. Until next time, stay venomous.